So, a toast. Fair game. Fair play. Here we have the second part of our presentation. The first one, we suggested a new design as competition, sports competition, considering all problems that you have, structures that you have, and the trials indeed ongoing. And this is a plea bargain. The first clause, or the main clause at this plea bargain is review this kind of situation. And then will allow to get in touch with the badge system, with the sponsorship, with the contracts and payments, with the scams. Unfortunately, we have this clearly, that the interest will consider specific games, and the limited space to be at these games allow you to take advantage and obtain huge gains by the market of tickets as a black market. And it's almost a main driver at this kind of activity, especially on FIFA 14, with cases involving the Africa, in Brazil, having this kind of activity associated with Carnival by the same kind of mistake, which is do not have the capacity of transparency, and this go by the lenient behavior of our federal prosecution, the federal investigation, the federal justice. And in the same way, we will observe that we have an operation on Africa, considering the Project Enact at the Interpol, going in the very first moment as observation against cybercrime, and all things got there, and carrying ourselves to the religious temples and other elements. And in some areas, like in Brazil, those religious temples has immunity for the tax examination, but is obvious go by a misperception as a misconcept, and it doesn't mean that you can be under the tax examination. You only will not suffer the tax charge to pay this, since you are according with the constitutional conditions to be at this situation, because there are no guarantees to commit a crime, there are no institutional prerogatives to commit or keep a crime, and the Brazil has a problem on it, and it's unable to understand that it's much more relevant know your constitution, clearly, than start playing piano, for instance. We will have the second piece of our conversation as a financial research serving to the U.S. judicial system, if you can consider like this. We are the creditors committee, and we are charging 33 trillion plus 2 billions after all. 2 billions because it's 1 billion plus 1 billion as financial punishment against the obstruction committed to avoid the consequence against crimes, unfortunately, under the notoriety of facts and circumstances. Changing data on public department is something going as deep web. And this allows the judicial system, American and international judicial system and system of justice, to charge you 1 extra trillion as financial punishment. See? All by law. All with legitimacy to do the charge. And we will have on mind now the second piece of our presentation, which will be the bank system. And we have a conversation before considering an investor group that came to Brazil to get in touch with one specific sports entity that has traditions from Portugal, and it's hosted on Rio de Janeiro. We suggested that this investor group, which is an American investor group, has the right to research things, even if they would like to, close the deal anymore. But they have the right to research this. It's on our constitution. I think that it's on Article 5 item or clause 33. Item 5, item 33. And it's about the research that you do by public departments. All have relevance as fake data. You can do the comparative measurement by, things as observed. Suggested to consider, for instance, the OR Society UK, the IIA on America. We did this situation as flow 33 trillion, factoring 1%, for 3 trillion. 300 billions, I think, or something like this, or 300 billions, it's a big money. And the division 50% with other financial services. America requests the information for this. With the secretary, the Mr. Mike Pompeo, at that time, maybe he is leading a situation as the CIA reviewing things, special tax payment on global companies like the IBM, things like this. You can research. Essential clause at this, as flow is the anti-crime body again. Because things going like this, by integration, as public corruption in global scale, of course that the public corruption as a new mafia will not or will support the interest as anti-crime purpose or anti-mafia purpose. So they must have a separated body again. And was suggested, for instance, at the very beginning of this creditor committee as a brainstorm or something like this, that you will sell a self-management account or with specific heads and leaders in Europe and America that will have their needs as financial needs supplied by a resource or an account entirely legal. The condition is zero corruption, zero tolerance, with corruption. And they can do this. They are for sure have this anti-crime purpose and the anti-mafia purpose. Because many of them, and this is a speech that the Interpol had lost of relatives of people, of a lot of things, and national space, and integrity and dignity, and all things by this kind of situation that take advantage of we all, which is the corruption. Even the criminal groups suffering loss as huge loss by this kind of activity. It's the interest of we all. Was suggested in the blog, Risk Report 2022, trace June, JUN.blogspot.com, at the post that you, international judicial system and defensive system as the NATO, the US defense, forming the system of justice international must assume our position and declare ourselves against the corruption in the way we have as pandemic event, having the mobilization of transnational organized crime, which is taking advantage of transnational organized crime by the departments supporting and have this background as activity. The outlook, of course, that is a disgrace. And we are kind of working with the preventive control 2028 from 2022 against crimes that come since 1988. No surprise. The financial research considering this big money, which is a reality. And the legitimacy of this creditors committee will go like this. Let's suppose that I have an account on one specific bank, named, for instance, the Bradesco. And I will consider have a small unit inside the Bradesco, which is the Intensa São Paulo, which is an Italian bank with an office on São Paulo City. And I will have here the Intensa São Paulo on Italy with a small unit as Bradesco here. I will have the Bradesco Intensa. I will have the Intensa, I will have the Bradesco. The relation as complementarity will come from Bradesco to Intensa, connecting with the Intensa, and the Intensa connecting with the Bradesco, having something like this. We will have here a cross-cut. as you can observe. This was suggested, for instance, the Bradesco in Brazil will host international agents with accreditation to operate inside the Intensa, and inside the Intensa, the international agents with legitimacy, and in no case Brazilians on it. They must be at the Bradesco on Italy. And this will give ourselves a good idea about a lot of things, considering the 33 trillion. I mean the 3 trillion. And 1% as factory. This is the situation that we have on mind. Now, we will finish this conversation today. As you can have here, this is a Mintzberg organization. Bradesco Intensa. Intensa Bradesco. Can you get? We will have here, as you can observe, a situation that is average. But despite you do not get, it's, the cross-cut that you for sure need. And the idea as cross-cut can go as interval notation in the same way. The research by this is very crude, but extremely effective. You will get and confirm all areas as distortion. This kind of model can support the plea bargain, considering the hacks on FIFA and the financial research America. We'll finish here. Have a good night.